Hey everyone, I thought I'd show you the details of my build before we get started here. This is my soul level 57 a dex build. He's got sharp infused nearly everything. A few weapons like the mace are raw infused just because there isn't enough of a return to justify going with a sharp infusion and having to farm ever more sharp gems, probably because it's a strength or quality weapon. And then I've got the light crossbow Llewellyn. I've got the starting knight set still equipped, with the exception of the pants. I went with the Drang shoes just for weight reasons. And then in my rings, I've got FAP and Prisoner's Chain. And I've been making a change here. I'm going with Obscurian and Silvercat almost full time. And then I'll sometimes swap Silvercat to Hornet when it makes sense, when I know I'm not going to need the Silvercat. But that's probably the biggest change, even from like a month or two ago. I don't use the Hornet Ring nearly as often as I used to. If I were on another level that might not require the Silvercat, I would definitely have the Hornet Ring there. But in like Profaned Capital and Aldrich Faithful Invasions, I definitely need both Obscuring and the Silvercat. In fact, this invasion here, you'll see where both come in really handy. One thing I've learned invading here is not do you just need blooming purple clumps, you need a metric shit ton of them. I've had invasions where I've used quite literally 40 of these, in part to remain hidden, but also in part because of just how much damage Toxic does. Poison you can pretty well ignore, especially once you get up past like soul level 40 or so, you should have enough health. But Toxic will absolutely ruin your health, and in fact you'll see here in a little bit where I get distracted and I end up losing a great deal of health due to not treating my toxic condition. Here, obviously, I've spawned in. I see the host across the way. He knows he's been invaded. He's got a buddy over here. They're not going to be in any hurry to come rushing down here, especially now that they know that I've got the Obscuring Ring on and they can't see me. I'm not sure what the arrow version of Kobe is, but I was really proud of that shot right there. So they've run back down the corridor, and undoubtedly they would like me to chase them. Now, of course, there's no way to get back up where they came from, but I'm very, very close to where they would run back to through here. So I have a pretty sizable advantage here. I can run back and forth and cover both those areas, and I can get back and forth much more quickly than they can via the route that they have to take. So right now I'm kind of trying to make up my mind whether I want to try to ambush them from behind when they're expecting me over right here. But I don't want to commit to anything just yet, especially because if I commit to ambushing them from behind, there's always the risk that they could pin me and I wouldn't be able to get back here. It's definitely safer here. The other thing I found myself wondering at this point is whether they actually even need to come over here, because technically speaking, from this bonfire, coming this direction is optional. Now, most players will want to do so because of Sigurd, and also because the mage, the NPC mage up there, he drops one of the sorcery tomes. So there's also a key that you can get that'll get you I think the Warden's Ashes. I think that's the one. Anyway, there's one of the ashes that you can pick up. It unlocks the magic resin buff. So I decided to go up here and check and see if the NPC is still alive, because if so, that likely means they need to come over here, and he is. So it's a good bet that they will not abandon coming over here. So I could chill here. I could wait. But I noticed that they seem pretty apprehensive about coming over. I don't know if they're any good or not. So I decided I'm going to try to come up behind them and try to ambush them. But first I want to check out here, make sure I don't see them. And unfortunately, I missed that they were right there. Now, fortunately, I don't think they've seen me yet, but I blow my cover and I whiff an R1. I try to go for the roll catch on the sorcerer, and I knew as I went for it that was probably a stupid idea. And I decide here I'm going to jump over this hole, and I'm amazed at the number of people that try to follow me and fall down below. And when they fall down below, it's so awesome because not only does it split up the party, but whoever falls down there is going to have to deal with those insect-looking things and a whole bunch of toxic damage. Especially if they're blues, because a lot of times if blues get summoned in here, especially around soul level 55, they may not even have the blooming purple moss clumps on them. And I've seen more than a couple blues go through Estus after Estus just trying to stay ahead of the toxic effect. So I'm going to kind of chill here with the Obscuring Ring on, and I see that the party's split up a little bit. I got the mage to my left, I got the host to my right. I'm guessing they're on a mic. I noticed that the mage is password summon, so that's definitely on my mind. Password summon mages are among the most dangerous types of password summon phantoms because their FP doesn't get scaled down. They keep all their high level spells, and the damage is just out of this world. It's definitely not proportional to the level. So I take a chance here and try to creep up on the phantom, and I don't know if he's in his inventory or what he's doing. But I'm able to get a backstab on him. They're probably on a mic because the host came in and holy shit, that damage. He just took off like 90% of my health. I was at full health. So I bait the Phantom into coming down here because he saw how hurt I was. And I'm obviously thinking about the host above me and a plunging attack. And I'm not sure what happened there. He did a little bit of damage with that plunging attack, but not very much. And I'm not doing a very good job of keeping this mage on my screen. Now I can hear him cast. And so depending on how close I am to him, the Crystal Soul Spear, as long as I hear it from far enough away, I should have time to roll. But if he's too close, even with the audio cue, I may not have enough time to roll it on reaction. This here is one of the few doors that you can actually open as an invader, and I think as any type of phantom. And so I want to get these guys in the action if I can. Now, one nasty thing about these hand monsters is that even though they won't target you if there's no seed, they still can grab you. So if they're going for the host or one of his phantoms, they go to grab them, they can grab you sort of by mistake and do a shit ton of damage to you. So here, unfortunately, I had just a little bit too much bloodlust, and I got a face full of Crystal Soul Spear. So this mage is really getting on my nerves at this point. Fortunately, he died. I think I got like... how many souls did I get there? I guess not nearly as many as I would have thought. So you notice here, I've got the toxic effect on me and I haven't treated it yet, just because I'm trying to keep this host under a lot of pressure. Over the course of the next like 30 seconds or so, the toxic effect bleeds off about 60 to 70% of my health. And unfortunately, I can't keep the host in roll catch hell because of the muck. And I think here he was thinking about going up the ladder, but he probably remembered what happened last time. GG. Look at that, though. Bled off probably about 75% of my health. The remainder of the invasions that I've got for you are Aldrich Faithful invasions, all with the same soul level 57 character. And they were interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, I hadn't done Aldrich Faithful invasions in probably a year. And truthfully, I'd forgotten just how much fun they were. I had a real blast invading alongside other Aldrich Faithfuls. The ganks aren't too bad at this soul level. You certainly run into them, but it's nothing like the ganks you run into at soul level 120. Another nice thing about some of these invasions, and you'll see it here in a moment, a couple of things. One is that this crossbow is really helpful in a team invasion sort of scenario, and I'll try to draw more attention to that when I actually see it come up. I'm only using the Gothard one-handed right now, but even it's still worth it just for the reach. You definitely lose damage, and you definitely lose something off your criticals relative to the Lothric Knight Straightsword. The Lothric Knight Straightsword gets a 110 critical bonus. This gets no bonus, but it's definitely worth it, even just for the reach alone. But when I go two-handed with this weapon, then it really showcases the strength of this weapon. And in my view, one of the main strengths of this weapon, two-handed, trying to chase somebody down when they're rolling away from you. And obviously that comes up in invasions all the time. It comes up especially here at Pontiff, where you have a situation where you're on a phantom's tail and you want to try and catch them. The running L1 is typically too slow in like a duel type of situation. And here I had the Phantom on the ropes and I would have probably killed him had that purple not gone for that ill-advised plunging attack there. But the running L1 is awesome because it has two swings. So even if your roll catch timing isn't perfect, you can still roll catch people. And if your roll catch timing is perfect, if it's good, you'll get 2 hits on them instead of 1. So it's just a really great weapon for chasing people down. Very, very versatile. I mentioned it in my previous video, the weapon art is unparryable, and I believe it is the only straight sword in the game that has any attack that's unparryable. Otherwise, every straight sword attack that I'm aware of, R1, L1, R2, weapon art, no matter what it is parryable. Look at the roll catches with that L1. Normally the R1's a bit better for that. Another L1. Man, it's awesome. And there I went to the shield because I saw that the host was attacking out of stun. And I would say I parry a moderate amount now. I don't parry too much. I've been parrying a little bit more than I used to. When I first started playing, I used to go for parries all the time. And there he got smart. You can see he swung that second time and waited for the parry attempt, even though I hadn't tried to parry any of his third R1s. But I've definitely, I started off parrying a lot, then I went to parrying hardly at all, and now I'm somewhere in the middle, probably closest to parrying very little. I usually only go for parries when I've got a really good read, not just when somebody does something and I think they're liable to do a certain type of attack, but usually only after I've seen them do it repeatedly. I don't know, I hate whiffing parries. So I try to be pretty conservative about it. And here, when you're chasing hosts around the corner there, that's a favored place to try to force you off the ledge. So if you think it might be a gank, that's something you definitely want to look out for. Get a lag spike here with the other Aldrich coming in. And obviously I get knocked off, and then we've got a blue here as well. So I kind of back off here trying to decide what to do with these 3 guys. I see the cavalry arrives. And I love this right here. He and I go for the same buff at almost exactly the same time. And man, it's so awesome to be able to swing at somebody that your invasion partner is swinging at the same time and not have to worry about hitting them. It is such a joy. And so I see this guy kind of try to skate off to the side. There he goes for some lane force. You'll see in some of the upcoming clips where I rely on the crossbow quite a bit more. It's great at stopping people who are running away. And here I lose sight of the Phantom. I think maybe he went down below towards the Aldrich gators, but I want to check up here and make sure, because going down that ladder is quite a commitment. So he was up here heading down the stairs. I rolled off the side and covered the staircase, and he wasn't there. So the only place left that he could have gone is down here. And here we kind of do this dance on the ladder just because I'm worried about somebody trying to use like the fap ring abuse and try to shove me off the ladder. But watch this. This is so perfect. Hit him with the crossbow as my opponent comes in, momentarily stun him long enough so that my friend can get in there and finish him off. I mean, that time I kind of hit him at the same time, but coming up you'll see some clips where I successfully stun locked them. And here, I didn't want to show the whole invasion because it was kind of boring, but I just wanted to show this little clip of me two-handing Gothards, and you can kind of see it operating in its full glory. So there I kind of bait out the R1s. Incidentally, this is a weapon that benefits greatly from being buffed, especially when you're two-handing it. So here you have another example. This is somebody I think I chased back from towards the top of the map. Never roll into a straight sword. Notice now he gets up to full health, and now I'm expecting a bit more aggression. One thing I've just recently started doing that I never used to do is kick at people's shields. I mean, I had done it previously, but not in what I would consider a very strategic sort of way. And now that I've started using my shield more aggressively, I've run into other players, good players, who kick at shields, and it's scary. Right, you do not want to hold up a shield against somebody who you think might kick it away, and it forces you to think a lot about it. So I'm trying to figure out kind of like what's the right kind of use pattern to go against somebody who holds a shield up a lot to try to kick it away. Like with a medium shield, it seems like you hit it once and then kick at it. But if any of you guys have suggestions or tips on the best way to deal with kicking out shields, I'd love to hear them. The other nice thing about the crossbow is it's a pretty safe way to get somebody into a state of hit stun, where you can then go after them with your straight sword R1s in a pretty riskless sort of way. This guy isn't minding his spacing very well, so I don't have to rely on something like that. I can just kind of wait for him to whiff one of his attacks and then counterattack. But if he were better, using the crossbow would be hugely valuable. The one thing I do get worried about using that L1 there is getting parried, just because with 2 attacks, you kind of have twice the chance of being parried. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will happen one of these days. And actually, I'm kind of curious if anyone else has to deal with this. I sometimes run into something that I call like parry fear, which is a situation where I go up against a player and they've got like a cestus, like that's the worst case, like a cestus and a straight sword. And then I start thinking, like, I start second guessing everything I'm going to do, like, oh, they're going to know I would do that, they're going to parry me. And then I end up playing very, very cautiously. And then while I start playing cautiously, they start playing very aggressively. And even in cases where I'm sure I'm the better player overall, they demolish me just because of my unwillingness to come in there and start swinging against their parry tool. And so I don't know if this is something that everyone else has to deal with. Damn No HTML, I know he used to talk about that, just because it's really frustrating to lose a fight against somebody when you're a better player than they are. And there I lost my riposte because of the damn fireball. Usually my approach when I start feeling that parry fear is to just kind of force myself to go in there and start swinging. But if I happen to have a couple of fights where maybe I get parried once or twice, then I start getting really edgy. And what I used to do is in fact, this is one of the ways that this channel got started, was I would record fights where I got parried. Because I would always go back and look and see, like, was it because I was doing something predictable, or was it because they were just spamming and got lucky? And a lot of times it was because they were spamming and got lucky, but not all the time. Especially those fights where the opponent only parried maybe once or twice and they got me. That had me really suspicious that they had picked up a read on me. And so I was able to get rid of a lot of really bad behavior. But even now, I still get parried, and sometimes I think they're reaction parrying me, and I don't know, it just makes me second guess myself a lot, which is annoying. That was awesome. So glad he could come in there and save the day. So I think this is actually my last invasion. I was actually invading in a mixture of Irithyll Dungeon and Profaned Capital, and then I had the Covenant item on to see if I get summoned in as an Aldrich Faithful. So I was kind of having to swap builds and rings depending on the situation and where I actually got summoned in. So I definitely want to stay out of the way of that red. I do not want to get hit by that weapon. I think that's the split leaf. Here I see the red coming up behind me, and I know he's not going to have enough respect for me to avoid hitting me, so I run off to the right to avoid getting hit. And this is just another example of the way that having the Silver Cat ring pays off, because I was able to stay right on this host's ass. If I would have had to stop and switch off, he probably would have gotten back here a lot sooner than I would. You see he's going to successfully resummon, but he probably would have gotten his, excuse me, his invader friend in much earlier otherwise. But here I'm able to finish him off real quick. No phantom. Just the way we like it. Well, hey guys, thanks for checking in. Take care now.